Hey, this is a part 2 of the easy, simple, dynamic heart health system that I made before, where here we explain the quarter heart and half heart system, basically how can we show that. If you haven't watched the first video, there's a link for it in the description. So let's get into it. So here we can see the heart pieces, which you will find a link for it in the description. Okay, so before we get into the logic, we have to first have a mindset of how can we even approach this problem, of how we can solve it. So let's say that we're only going to implement the half heart feature. How can we do this? Well, if we do this, it's almost as if we want to double our health. Because when we have the max health of 6, it's basically that each heart contains 2 health. So how can we do this? So let's get to the gameplay test, get to the event graph, and in order to implement this feature, we're actually going to make 2 changes into the logic. First of all, inside of the max health over here, we're going to say that we want to divide it by 2. Because remember, we said it's as if we want to multiply it by 2. And this is going to be very important later. So, if our input max health is 6, that means we're going to have 3 hearts, essentially. So now, what about showing the different hearts? Well, that is also actually simple. All we have to do is say to give me the current heart index and multiply it by the 2, which is the same one over here. Okay, so instead of saying if the heart value is less than the input current health, we want to say this in a different way. So we're going to say, is this result value bigger than, just bigger than, the input current health? Okay, and what does this mean? So let's take an example. If we are currently creating the second heart, it will say 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. And if our current health is 6, then is 4 bigger than 6? The result is no. In this case, we want to do something when it is bigger than the 6. So if let's say that the 6 was actually a 3, in this case, we actually want to show for the second heart that it is showing half a heart. Because if it was a 4, if the input current health is a 4, and we're talking about the second heart, then the second heart should appear as full, as there is no change. Because remember, each heart right now, supposedly each heart actually contains 2 health values. So right now we'll actually get into the second and last part of creating a function that will show the heart visual. So let's get into the heart and get into the graph and create a function that says set heart visual. And then we will add an input integer value, which is going to be called health difference. And then we're going to make something very important here. You see, the only time that we will enter inside of this function is if the value of the index multiplied by 2 is actually bigger than the current health. So let's call the function, which is set health visual, heart visual, and when it is at true, and then we will say, give me this value and subtract it by the input current health, which is this one, and then input it over here. And then we're going to write the logic that dictates which visual should appear. So let's get inside of here and then say something important. Before we say if it is equal to a 1, we want to actually say something that is, my OCD is killing me. So we're going to call this an input health difference. And then we're going to say if this value is bigger than or equal to the value of 2, which is our max, right? Because we are emptied when we are at the value of 2. In this case, we want to show the broken heart. So let's take this one and then get here and then show the broken heart, which is the 4 piece. But if it's otherwise, if it's something different, in this case, we want to do it differently. So we're going to take get the input health difference, and then we're going to make a select, this one. And then what we're going to do is say to also do this one, but we're gonna put the false pin over here, and then we're going to put this into the texture. And so basically, what this is saying is that based on the value that gets into here, we're going to select something. So at 0, nothing is gonna, it will never read the value 0. But what we have to do is we're going to want to read the value from 1, 2, and 3. Maybe I have to, yeah, there we go. So for this option, what we would do is go for the hearts. So we have one piece, two piece, three piece, and so on. But in our case, we can only get to the value of one, right? So the two and three will not make sense right now. Let's just focus onto this. So right now, we're going to take the value of the two pieces, and we're going to come over here and then select it over here. So basically, is it a two? No, because we know that it's a one. In this case, we will set this one, we will take the half a heart and set it. This will be very important later because of how we will change this value. And just because of this, all we have to do now is just go to the character. Yep, there it is. Go to the max health and set it to 6, and then compile, save, and then we're going to start, and we can see that we have our three heart pieces, right? But now when we try to subtract, there we go, it's a half a heart. Subtract again. It's emptied heart. Subtract again, 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 and so on. As you can see, we can do it in such a way. It works exactly as intended. Now, if we try to increase the max health, yeah, there we go. So we are increasing the max health and um, interesting. So this doesn't work yet with the max health, apparently. But that's okay. We're gonna get to this in a moment. But before this, we want to now see how can we implement the four pieces. All we have to do is come inside of the gameplay and make this. We technically would want to make this into a variable. So let's actually call this our max heart pieces. So this is the max heart pieces, and we're going to actually set this as a 4, and we're going to take this one, same thing, put it over here, and finally we're going to create another input that says input max heart pieces. Compile, go back to here and put in the max heart pieces value, and finally what will happen over here, we're going to take this and put it into here. So basically, now let's actually look at the third heart on the right. So the third heart is technically 4 plus 4 plus 4, which is 12. So that's supposed to be 12 health. So what we're saying is, what would be the difference there? So at 11 health, it would be a quarter. So yeah, let's actually get this. So at 11 health, it would be this. At 10, it would be this. At 9, it would be this. And finally, at 8, it would be this. So here is the difference of 1, difference of 2, difference of 3. And finally, when the difference is 4 or bigger, we will show the emptied heart. So in that same sense, we will come over here and then say uh, uh, difference of 1 is going to be the one piece, which is piece 1, piece 2, piece 3. That is it. That's all we have to do, except going to the max health and setting it as 12. Okay, so we will see now that if we press on 1 to subtract, we have the quarter heart, half a heart, this one. So you can see that it does work exactly as intended. Okay, now let's get to the problem of the max health. Let me actually show you something. So right now we're at 1.5 heart of damaged health, okay? So I'm going to say add max health 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. On the fourth one, this appeared. So what does this mean? What does it tell you? Where have we seen the number 4 before? Oh, we've actually seen it when we use it inside of here, which is the max heart pieces. So basically, this also means that when we add the max health, instead of saying plus 1, we actually have to say plus 4. Actually, I want to do a bit of cleaning up. Set the max health as this one. And if we want to heal, give me this and plus it as a 4 because it is the constant, the new constant we're using for the max heart pieces, and we will just add it over here. So in that same sense, we have to do this same idea over here. Okay, so we're actually going to make a bunch of changes to the decreased max health logic because the first way that this was done, we only had just a heart piece, a single heart piece. So we didn't really have to make this much calculations or considerations essentially. So let's take an example. And actually, in order to take this example in a better way, we will actually go to the designer part of the heart system or the heart widget itself and add a text over here. It's all right. We will just very simply just add an overlay. So wrap with an overlay, which is this one, and we will just make the heart take the entire space, just like how it is. And finally, this is when we can add the text, where we will make it also centered, actually, and maybe we can make its font a little bit bigger or something. But anyway, the point is that this is the number of health value we're gonna make this into a variable, compile and save. And when we come here to set the visuals, actually before we set the visuals, we're going to set this by default as a 4, okay? And now when we set the visuals, we're going to take this and then set the text. And finally, we're going to take the input health difference. And so this is the difference, right? So this basically means that we want to get input max heart pieces and then come over here and then say subtracted by the difference. So if it's a 4, we're going to subtract it by 1, which is the difference. So now we have one piece, right? So we're going to take this and we're going to set the result as the number of health value on this heart, essentially. And then we're going to compile and save. We'll also do this one here. Why not? To show a 0. And if we get inside of here, we can see that each heart can show the number of uh, things inside of it, right? So now it's okay. It shows as -2, but it's okay. But the point that I'm trying to get at is, let's say that we're going to add 1 max health, okay? And then we're going to subtract 1 max health. Let's think about how this would work. So when we subtract the max health, we subtract 4 from the max health, okay? So we do this so that one heart would disappear, okay? So this entire heart part would disappear. But at the same time, in the previous logic, we would also subtract one health, one current health. But in this situation, we don't really want to do this. So when we subtract the health, let's say that this one no longer exists. We just have 3 hearts, this one being half a heart. Now, when we say to subtract, we will subtract the 4 max health, but in the previous logic, we were asking, hey, is the current max health equal to the current health? And this is when we can say to also subtract the current health. But in this case, this is not the same thing because the max health for this one is 12, but the current health is 10 because 4 plus 4 plus 2 is 10. So now they are not equal to the same. So it's almost like we need to have some sort of logic that can detect this. So remember the examples. We have a 10 and a 12, 12 max health and 10 current health. So let's get back to the logic and look at how we can do this inside of the subtracting max health. So what we want to do is we want to get something that's called remainder whole division. So we will subtract the current health by the 4, which is the 4 different hard parts, and also the max health by that same 4. So if we look at this example, we have 10 divided by 4, the whole is going to be 2, and the remainder is going to be 2. But for the max health, which is 12, divided by 4 is going to be, the whole is going to be 3, and the remainder is going to be 0, because there is no remainder when you divide 12 by 4. So here's the thing. When we do this part, what we will find is we will find this one as 2, and this one will be 3. So what we will do here is we're going to get the difference. So what is the difference between this value and this value? Is the difference equal to 1? That is when we want to basically set the current health to be the same as the max health, right? But before we actually take this step, we actually want to say to subtract the max health before we do this step. We need this sequencing to happen. But the problem here is that if we come over here, do this, and then do this step afterwards, it's not going to be accurate. So we have to do this in a particular different way. So the best way that I can think about this is if we actually just collab this into a function, which we will call it just decrease max health, because it's going to be much more convenient if we have it in this way, where we come over here and put this one here. Once we get to this step, what we'll actually say is do this, take this part inside of here, but instead of saying to set the max health, what we'll actually say is create a local variable that is called new max health. Okay? So after we subtract is going to be this value, where we can actually then say to easily, if it is true, we will set the max health, we will set the current health to this value. And as for the max health, we actually can just say to give me this value because we have already subtracted it over here. So with that setup, if the difference is 1, we will set the current health to be the same as the max health. And if it's not, then we will simply just say for this to be the case. So if we come then here and actually let me also inside of the designer. So this is the HP hearts, right? Let's actually also create a heart over here. Actually, it can just be a text value, but I want it to be like this to be much more convenient, let's say. After we set all of the health, we will come over here. Actually, yeah, on completed, what we will do is we will talk to the hard test, this one, or actually, I just want to call it current health counter, okay? Just so that it's easier for us to see what we're actually testing out. So this current health counter, we will get the health, and we will simply just set the text. And this value will actually be the input current health. So input current health, we come over here and we do it like that. I forgot to pin it. That's funny. And start. And as you can see, our current health is 12. If I subtract it by one, there we go. Now, here is the moment of truth. If I were to subtract the max health, what should happen is that the current health should now appear as 8. So there we go. Subtract. There we go. It's at 8. Perfect. If you subtract it by 1 and then subtract the max health, it's going to be 4, which is perfect. If we try to subtract more, it's going to be, well, it's not going to appear, which which is a problem because actually, okay, let's restart this so that we can see the problem. So we're doing this, but we didn't subtract. Yeah, okay, there we go. Okay, so now when we look at the logic over here and try to, yeah, this part. So if we try to do this and look at subtracting the max health, we're going to see that inside of the debugging, the current health is 4, the max health is 4. They are equal. They are they equal to 1? No, they're not equal to 1. Or sorry, the max health is sorry. The max health, is it equal to 1? No, because the max health is no longer related to the 1. It's actually related to the 4. So we have to adjust this to a 4. And now when we get back to the logic, uh, if we subtract the max health and then do it in this way, we have a 5. We subtract max health again, we have a 4. And finally, we subtract the max health again, and there's nothing. So, okay, so this is correct, but the one last step that we're actually supposed to do is subtract the current health. So this is perfect because we are almost there. So if it's true, what we have to do is, yeah, just subtract the current health. So we do this pretty much. We just, there we go. We just set it like this, and that's it. Play. So subtract, subtract, and one more time, and there we go. So it is done. There we go. It's perfect. So if we try to increase the max health, it looks like this. But if we try to decrease it, it's gonna look like this. So increasing, decreasing. I feel like there's still a problem with the system. When it subtracts, it doesn't subtract. So let's get back again to this and let's do the 4. Okay, so they in this case, it is 18, 8, and 10 currently. So yeah, okay, I see the problem. So it was actually a very simple problem. Instead of asking if the value of this is equal to 1, we have to ask if it's less than or equal to 1. Because at one point, the current health and max health can actually equal to be the same. And in that case, they will equal to 1. The difference, sorry, they're equal to 0. The difference would be 0. So if we now look at the result, so we're gonna increase the max health, decrease the max health, let's increase it again, and then subtract by 1, decrease it, subtract again, decrease it, subtract 2, decrease it, subtract 3, decrease it, subtract all of them, and decrease it. And as you can see, if we decrease, we can get to this. And yeah, we have the full entire system completed, as you can see. So yeah, as you can see, with very small adjustments to how we think about it and how we approach it, and I guess specifically to this part, this is how we can make the system work in this particular way. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I suppose I can also clean up the work here. All right, and now we can also remove this. We no longer want it. I'm just gonna hide it on my side. Because maybe it can be useful later for debugging. We don't need the break me function anymore. I mean, technically, we can also just create a local variable here that's called local index. put it over here just to make the code clean and very easy and simple to read. So we will take the local index and put it here so that we don't have to drag it here and having like lots of lines appearing. And yeah, it looks very, very clean. And at the very end, this is only for debugging. And that is it. There is one very last thing that we need to discuss, which is the value of the max heart pieces is actually set inside of the UI. Okay. But as you can see, we are also using this value inside of here, the 4 and the 4. So, like what if we at some point want to say, actually, we want our health to be at 3 pieces or at 2 pieces or at 1 piece and so on? How would we do this? So, although technically we can actually make this into a variable and making the widget read that variable from inside of the player, or like making an input over here that has the max heart pieces, we can do that. But the problem actually is inside of this function. You see, because remember how at the very start, when we had the max heart pieces at 2, in the first option, in the very first one, what we would do is we would read the input health difference, which is 1, and in this case, we would want to read this one. So because of this, you would then have to say that you want to shift the heart visuals so that which one would appear in whatever manner and so on. So if we had 3 heart pieces, like them appearing as a sort of a triangle, a broken triangle sort of thing. You're just very meticulously changing the values that you want to specifically read, and that is it. But yes, what I would do here is that I would make max pieces be a value inside of here, and when I update the max health, I would come over here and input it as a value. Okay, so I just want to very quickly show you that you can do this in such a way. Instead of having to explain it, I realized that, maybe I should just show it instead. So I'm going to put my heart pieces increment into over here. Also, when I decrease and increase the max health, so over here into this part, the 4, because, and also the max pieces over here into 4. Yep. Again, same thing here. We're gonna subtract it by the max heart pieces. Let's look at the, this is just to update it. So, okay, what is next? The next part is that I'm actually gonna take the max heart pieces, come over here and make the input that I mentioned earlier of pieces. Okay, so now you can see that we already have the max heart pieces over here, and we also have it here. So which one are we going to use? So I think the best thing that we can do is we're just going to shift all of this here, and we're not going to remove this value, but rather we're going to set it over here like this. So anytime that we set the health, we will automatically set this variable that's inside of here. And this can help us if we want to then use the max heart pieces in anywhere else inside of the code in whatever way we want, right? So it doesn't have to exclusively be about the heart, the place where the hearts are created, but generally inside of our gameplay UI, essentially, right? If something else needs to check the heart pieces inside of the widget itself, we can immediately just read it because we have updated it from here. The last point, as mentioned, is that as you change your heart pieces, you have, if it's 3, then you're gonna have to shift it as mentioned before. Oh, I had to make sure that I pin this, and let us also not forget to set the heart pieces when we initialize in the event begin play, when we initialize the widget into the UI. So yeah, this is basically all of this. I hope you enjoyed this episode and learned something from it. I hope it wasn't too complicated, but this is, I suppose, one of the cleanest way to do this. If there is another way, perhaps I can share them in the comments or make another video about it. But yeah, this is how you can do this, and I hope you like it, and I will see you later.